Each year on Christmas Eve, with the lights dimmed and around 25 minutes into the 45-minute service, right when the kids' attention span starts to wane, I bring out the big red box. It's become a ritual in the service that the children anticipate, a moment that pulls them back into the Christmas story that we are telling together. The congregation decorates an empty tree as the nativity story is read, the carols are sung, people decorate the tree. It's a joyful service, singing with harmony. There are Christmas cookies, there's candlelight, and there's a favorite part of the worship service for our residents here in Donaldson is this ability to decorate this tree, to engage in the service, everyone. This year followed the similar rhythm. Families had helped us decorate the tree on center stage. We sung carols. Now only the red box stood between us and communion and candlelight and the children's ability to go home with the excitement. So I called out, children under 10, come join me on the stage. They came as they always do. Some rushed forward with confidence as they've done this before. Others needing a little more gentle invitation before joining this circle on the stage. Just the circle is lit and the Christmas tree behind us. Once they were all seated, I began describing what was in the red box, giving them clues and hints on the journey, letting them guess, building the anticipation before the big reveal of what was inside the box. It was later at the dinner table that my wife, Kara, told me something I'd missed that I didn't see. She said there was a man sitting on the shadows and the steps with the children, just near the children, but outside of the circle of light that was there, but on the steps listening in. I really hadn't noticed him there. The lights were bright. The children were pummeling me with questions, and I was trying to engage them and try to keep the focus. I was so focused on what if the children don't like the gift in the box? My attention had been focused elsewhere. And Kara continued and said, he just sat there and listened to the whole thing. The object lesson, every part of it, listening in like the story was new to him that evening. Let's call the man on the steps Thomas. If you attend Nashville Grace Church the last year, you would know Thomas. He's an adult with an intellectual disability who experiences the world a lot differently than most. During our morning worship services, the bright lights and stimulation and loud music often proves overwhelming. He walks in and out multiple times, restless, trying to find his equilibrium in a space that's not quite designed with him in mind. Thomas and his mom are relatively new to the Sunday morning experience, though they have, over the years, attended our seasonal community events for the last few years. They are now finding a place in worship on Sunday morning, discovering if there they belong. But belonging doesn't always mean comfort for any of us. And it doesn't always mean that we've done the work to make our spaces truly welcoming. During the children's story, though, in the shadows, on those steps, Thomas didn't walk in and out of the service. He was engaged. He listened. And in that moment, that brief moment of that 45-minute service, he belonged. That image of Thomas today won't leave me because it was Thomas not in the light. It was still Thomas in the shadows. Remember the man who had trouble getting to Jesus? Mark's gospel tells us that the house was packed. People pressed in against the walls, the crowding of the doorway, the spilling of the crowd into the street. Everyone wanted to be close to Jesus. But for the man with a disability, the crowd was too thick. The obstacles seemed too great. The very gathering meant the very gathering meant to bring people to Jesus had actually become a barrier to keeping him out. The good news is he had friends like you. 4 of them, in fact. And they refused to let the crowd define what was possible. They climbed on the roof. They dug through the tiles. They lowered their friend down through the ceiling right in the presence of Jesus in that room. I feel really strange about mixed feelings about this Christmas Eve service, really, if I'm really honest and open. My heart is split between what it actually symbolizes. It was a beautiful service. People complimented it, and Thomas found a place where he could finally and be still and engage in that moment. Or is that Christmas Eve service still a slight pain? A place where the place that he found was still in the shadows, wasn't in the light. He was still out of the circle. Maybe it's both. Maybe that's exactly the tension that we sit here with today. It perplexes me. It convicts me as a pastor. Because isn't that exactly many times what we've done to our brothers and sisters and disabilities, intentionally or unintentionally? We've allowed them to remain in the shadows, their families to feel sometimes uninvited, unwanted, even when we think we're being welcoming to everyone else. The truth is, the church in general, capital C, we're not there yet. But we're discovering something important. The journey towards genuine inclusion begins simply with belonging and inviting. It starts with seeing people in the shadows and not leaving them there. I have to say a huge thanks to Brad Lee, our respite director, for helping our church make strides and actually influencing and empowering our pastoral team to think with different lenses in this ministry area. He's helped our community understand that inviting those with disabilities isn't about programs or accommodations alone, though those really do matter. It's about bringing them around the table of God. That's the goal. It's about creating a space where a man like Thomas never has to sit in the shadows again. Finally to be still, finally listen, and finally feel like he belongs. You know what strikes me most about that worship moment on Christmas Eve? It's that Jesus showed up also in the shadows. Born in a stable, laid in a feeding trough, visited by the shepherds, lived in the margins of society. The incarnation itself was God choosing to enter even the shadows, to sit with us in uncomfortable places, and making belonging possible for those in the world who feel like they've been pushed aside. Maybe that's the real message of the Red Box as it taught me as a pastor this year. Not whatever object was hidden inside, but maybe the message of the Red Box for the church was Thomas sitting on the steps, one step closer to the inner circle, finally still, finally listening, finally able to receive the story we were telling. The disabled man in Mark's gospel, the friends in Luke's day, Jesus' day rather, saw the crowd as an obstacle to overcome, not a reason to give up. Those are really good friends, like you. They literally deconstructed the building to reconstruct belonging. The disabled community hasn't been always truly invited around the table. Part of it is unintentional. Part of it is an awareness. Part of it is not even sure we have the skill set to do what we need to accomplish. Many times it feels like there's an accommodation or a toleration. Occasionally, in groups like yours, there's a celebration. But in the church in general, have we really done a great job of inviting, allowing them to be seen, given a seat, not in the shadows, but in the circle? We made some gains because of Brad's leadership in these last few years, and it's beautiful to see. What you're working on, your projects around your table right now, will make a difference not only to you, but to pastors who are in charge to resource you for your ministry. This Christmas, I'm grateful for what Thomas taught me in the shadows. I'm grateful for Brad's leadership, helping us understand that the gospel compels us to do better every time. And I'm grateful that the story we tell each December about God doesn't leave anyone in the shadows anymore, who in fact enters the shadows himself to bring us, all of us, into the light. The journey toward true belonging is just beginning in our church setting. But like those children on Christmas Eve, some rushed in confidently, some needed extra invitation. We're all learning together what it means to make room around the manger or the table, even for those who are still left on the steps. You know, one thing I noticed about the Christmas Eve service in Thomas, the service was interactive. Everyone participated. The lights were dimmed. The senses were calm. It was different than the normal setting. He didn't walk in, he didn't walk out. He was truly engaged. I ask you again, remember the man who had trouble getting to Jesus? He had friends like Dr. Blevins, Dr. Prush, and friends like you who are asking the very important questions of what rooftops might we need to tear through in order to make sure the church makes room for those who feel excluded.